When I had a severe panic attack after being laid off, my wife screamed, "Stop being a useless burden," and then threw away my antidepressants and told my friends on a video link, "He's just faking it, he just wants to be pitied." I heard every word. 2 months later, she regretted everything. My name's Ethan, I'm 32, and until recently I was one of those people who believed hard work would always pay off. I spent 8 years busting my ass at the same mid-sized tech firm, can't say the name, but imagine the usual, we're a family, garbage mixed with kombucha taps and unused beanbags in the break room. The job wasn't glamorous, but it paid well enough and I was good at what I did. I worked 60-hour weeks, skipped holidays, and answered 2 a.m. emergency tickets like some corporate firefighter. So when they scheduled a quick check-in on Zoom last month, I thought maybe it was about a new project. Instead, it was a 15-minute call with HR and my manager, faces tight with awkward sympathy. "Your role is being sunset," they said. "Realignment of priorities," they said. Just like that. 8 years erased by some consultant's PowerPoint slide. No warning, no thank you, just gone. I sat there staring at the screen for a long time after they logged off. I wasn't even angry at first. Just hollow. Like someone had yanked the emergency brake on my entire life. I'd been dealing with anxiety for about a year, nothing severe, just enough to be on mild medication to smooth out the edges. But that day, something cracked wide open. My heart started pounding so fast I thought it would burst. My chest felt like it was caving in, my hands went ice cold and numb. I couldn't breathe. I fell to the floor of my office, gasping like a fish on land. If you've never had a panic attack, it doesn't feel like nerves. It feels like dying. And your brain is fully convinced that's exactly what's happening. That's when Ava walked in. My wife. We've been together 5 years. I used to think of her as my anchor, my person, the one who had my back no matter what. I tried to explain through shallow, broken breaths. "I got fired. I can't breathe. I need my meds, they're in the bathroom." She didn't move. She just stood there in the doorway with her arms folded, looking down at me like I was something pathetic. Then she said it. "Stop being such a useless burden." Just like that. Calm. Cold. Like she'd been waiting to unload those words for years. That moment is burned into my brain, not just what she said, but the look on her face. Not angry. Worse. Disgusted. Like I was a bug she found in her cereal. I don't even remember how I got to the bathroom. I splashed water on my face, fumbled with the pill bottle, and tried to breathe like my therapist taught me. I sat on the edge of the tub, shivering and shaking, trying to convince myself maybe I misunderstood her. Maybe my brain was spiraling, hearing things that weren't real. But then I heard Ava in the kitchen. Our place isn't big, walls are thin, voices travel. She was on FaceTime with her best friend, Maya. I wasn't trying to listen in, but I couldn't help it. "He's not even trying," she said. "It's all just for attention. He's been moping around for months and now suddenly he's having a panic attack because he got fired." She laughed. Laughed. Then I heard the trash lid open, the sound of something hitting the can, plastic pill bottles. My medication. I counted to 10. Then 20. Then 50. Anything to keep from smashing something. But something shifted inside me in that moment. Not anger. Not yet. It was like a light flicking on. That kind of sharp clarity you get when you finally realize the person you're lying next to every night might not actually love you at all. Without thinking, I grabbed my phone and hit record. I caught her saying it all, how I was dead weight, how she couldn't stand being married to someone so weak, how she felt embarrassed to even be seen with me. I didn't recognize her voice. The woman I thought I knew would never say that. But then again, maybe she never really existed. That night, after she left for her precious spin class, I dug through the bathroom trash and found my meds. I counted them. She hadn't dumped the whole bottle, just made her little gesture, just enough to make a point. I sat on the bed, staring at the wall. Then I picked up the phone and called Liam. Liam and I go way back, college roommates, late-night Taco Bell runs, that kind of friend. Ava always said he was a bad influence because he once joked about taking me to Vegas instead of going wine tasting for my birthday. Now I get why she didn't like him. He's the kind of person who reminds you who you were before someone chipped away at your confidence piece by piece. He showed up within the hour. I didn't have to explain much, he just listened. Really listened. Then he said something that stuck. "Start documenting everything. Quietly. Get your ducks in a row and do not let her know you're planning anything." So I did. I started a Google document: date, time, what she said, what she did. I backed up the recordings in 3 places. Took screenshots of the texts where she rolled her eyes at my anxiety, joked about me being a baby, told her friends she could do better. Looking back, the signs were always there. The way she talked down about my job. The way she'd sigh when I mentioned needing time to rest. The way she'd tell me with a laugh that she settled. Everyone used to say I was lucky to be with her, that she was out of my league. Now I wonder if she ever even liked me or if I was just some fixer-upper project she lost interest in halfway through. A few days after everything snapped, I got a message on LinkedIn. A recruiter from one of the biggest competitors of Ava's company reached out. Said my background matched a role they were urgently trying to fill. I nearly deleted the message. Felt like spam at first, but something made me pause. I checked the company's profile. It was legit. Big player. Bigger than the one that had just dumped me like trash. They weren't just hiring, they were growing. And they wanted me. We scheduled a call for the next day. I told Ava I was meeting Liam for lunch. In truth, I slipped into my old blazer and sat in the apartment's tiny second bedroom, pretending to be confident. I still felt like a wreck, but I pushed through the interview. Surprisingly, it went well. I didn't stammer. I didn't freeze up. I actually sounded like I knew what I was doing. 2 days later, they sent me an offer. The pay bump wasn't massive, about 15%. But the benefits? Unbelievable. Full mental health coverage. Actual PTO. Not that unlimited vacation trap that meant, take time off and we'll question your loyalty. First thing I did was open a brand new bank account. Different bank. Separate login. Completely off Ava's radar. We'd had joint accounts since we got married. For 5 years, I never once checked where the money went. Looking back, that was a mistake I would never repeat. When the first paycheck from the new job hit, it went straight to the new account. I didn't say a word. At home, I pretended everything was normal. I made dinner some nights, laughed at the right moments, and nodded when Ava told stories about annoying coworkers. All the while, I was quietly moving pieces into place. That second bedroom we shared as a home office, I started packing up my side of it. Slowly, just a little here and there. A drawer cleared. A shelf emptied. Nothing she'd notice unless she was paying close attention, which she wasn't. Too busy taking selfies in gym clothes or complaining about how her manager didn't value her genius. On the outside, Ava still acted like she was the queen of the castle. But behind closed doors, she was colder than ever. One night, while helping me search for jobs, again, pretending I was unemployed, she pulled up a listing and said I probably wasn't qualified for it. Then she laughed. A long, sharp laugh, like it was funny that I might think I was capable of more than begging for leftovers. I didn't flinch. I just smiled and thanked her for her help. The next morning, I called Liam and asked if he knew any good divorce attorneys. He gave me the number of his cousin Gregory. Gregory didn't look like a lawyer. When we met for coffee, he showed up in jeans and a hoodie with a Star Wars logo on it. But 5 minutes into the conversation, I knew I'd come to the right guy. He didn't ask condescending questions. He didn't treat me like I was overreacting. He listened, took notes, then looked me straight in the eye and said, "You're not crazy. This is real. And you're not alone." I showed him the recordings, the screenshots, the texts, the photo I'd taken of my meds lying in the trash. Gregory called it a textbook case of emotional abuse. He also explained the legal side. 5-year marriage. No kids. Dual incomes. In our state, that usually meant a clean split with no alimony. Unless one party could prove abuse or financial misconduct. Guess who had proof? Over the next week, I started building what Gregory called my exit packet. I gathered financial records, cataloged every nasty message, every mocking post Ava had made about me, some of which she didn't even realize I'd seen. She'd posted things on social media hinting I was unstable. Shared stories about how hard it was to be the strong one in the relationship. All smiles in person. All poison behind my back. Then, something happened that nearly broke me. I reached out to an old friend, Sky. We hadn't talked in almost 2 years. Used to game together every weekend before I got married. Ava said Sky was too dramatic and immature. Now I know why. Sky saw through Ava from the beginning. When I messaged Sky, they responded almost immediately. Said they were glad to hear from me, and then dropped a bombshell. Apparently, Ava had been trashing me to all our mutual friends for years. telling them I was unstable, that I couldn't handle stress, that I was dragging her down and refusing to be a man. Sky had screenshots, tons of them, group chats I wasn't even in. Ava spinning this narrative where she was the long-suffering wife and I was a broken project she had to babysit. It hit harder than I expected. I stayed up all night staring at the ceiling, wondering if any of it had ever been real. The love, the marriage, the vows. In the morning, I was quiet. Too quiet, I guess, because Ava noticed, asked if I was okay. I almost laughed. Now she noticed. I just muttered something about not sleeping well and left it at that. She shrugged and went back to her emails. But something was different in me after that. I felt like a fog had lifted. The new job was going well. Really well. My team respected me. My manager, Sydney, actually listened when I spoke. No fake family talk, no passive-aggressive emails. Just real work with real boundaries. Last Friday, we had one of those company mixers. Ava was out of town visiting her parents, so I went. Didn't expect much. But I ended up meeting a few of the senior managers, including someone I never expected. Ava's boss's boss. She didn't know who I was. I didn't mention Ava. We talked about the industry, transition strategies, team dynamics. Normal stuff. Apparently, I made an impression. Sydney texted me later that night. She said you were one of the smartest guys she's talked to in months. I smiled to myself. Because the insights I'd shared? They were all things I'd overheard Ava ranting about during her bad days. Her words. My delivery. The irony wasn't lost on me. Meanwhile, I kept looking for a place. Nothing big. Just a simple one-bedroom where Ava wouldn't think to look. I found a small apartment across town, 20 minutes from the office. Cheap, clean, and best of all, month to month. I started moving little things there when Ava was out. Some clothes, my passport, electronics, important files, the stuff you don't want to leave behind. Liam let me store boxes at his place too. Little by little, I was disappearing from the apartment without her noticing. Then yesterday, Ava made her move and confirmed everything I already knew. She went through my phone. I knew because I always locked it with both fingerprint and PIN. Always. I also close every app before setting it down. But when I came out of the shower, the screen was on and my apps were open. She didn't say anything, just acted like nothing happened. I casually asked, "Hey, did you need my phone for something?" She got defensive instantly, said I was being paranoid, that maybe it unlocked in my pocket, then changed the subject. To towels. New towels, she said. We should get some new ones. While my life was crumbling, she wanted to talk about towels. That was the final nail. My heart didn't ache anymore. It hardened, and I knew I was done pretending. One week after Ava snooped through my phone, everything changed. I was called into a meeting with senior leadership at my new job. I thought it would be about onboarding or maybe some long-term planning. Instead, Sydney, my manager, introduced me to a few high-level executives. One of them pulled up a deck labeled Strategic Integration, Phase 1. Turned out we were acquiring a smaller division from a competitor. Not layoffs and expansion, but the team we were absorbing? It was the exact unit where Ava worked. I just sat there, blinking, heart pounding. Sydney smiled at me and said, "You're the perfect person to lead this transition. You understand both systems, both workflows. Your experience is ideal." I nodded, trying to act calm, but my brain was sprinting. Ava had no idea. She thought I was still unemployed, floating through job interviews and lunch breaks with Liam. She had no clue that I had been hired by her company's largest rival or that I now held the keys to her department's future. I told Sydney I'd need a day to think about it. She agreed. As soon as I got home, I knew what I had to do. I called Gregory. He didn't hesitate. Take the job, but keep your name off everything she might see. No direct comms. No emails she could trace. Stay in the shadows. Done. The next morning, Ava left for work, grumbling about a department-wide meeting. Some BS about structural changes, she muttered, chugging her green smoothie. Probably some hotshot consultant trying to justify their bonus. I just smiled and told her to have a good day. As soon as she was gone, I moved. Step 1. I loaded the rest of my essentials into the car, my work equipment, the last box of clothes, the backup hard drive with all my files. All the personal stuff I couldn't afford to lose. Step 2. I went to the bank and withdrew exactly half of our joint savings. Not a cent more. Gregory had drilled that into me. Don't be greedy. Be precise. Be clean. Step 3. I drove to the apartment I'd quietly furnished over the past 2 weeks. 1 bedroom, cheap IKEA furniture, a tiny balcony I'd already come to love. I dropped off my things, made a pot of coffee, and sat for a moment breathing in the silence. Then I opened my backpack. Inside was a folder. I had spent weeks preparing it. Inside, divorce papers. A USB drive with audio recordings of Ava mocking my mental health. Screenshots of texts to friends where she belittled me. Photos of my medication in the trash. A printed note that simply read, "I'm not the burden you thought I was." I drove back to the old apartment, let myself in one last time, and left the folder neatly on the kitchen table. My key sat on top. By 3 p.m. I was officially gone. I blocked Ava on everything except email. I messaged Liam and Sky, told them what I'd done so they wouldn't accidentally tip her off. Then I turned off my phone for a few hours and just sat. Alone. Free. Numb, but in a good way. 6 hours later, my inbox exploded. 47 missed calls. 23 voicemails. Dozens of texts that pinged against my lock screen like machine gun fire. Angry. Panicked. Begging. Then finally an email. Subject line, "What the hell, Ethan?" The body was a wall of text. Paragraphs of accusations, how I'd sabotaged her career, how I'd planned this for months, how I was cruel and calculating. She said I was vindictive, that I had destroyed her life on purpose. She said I was a monster. I forwarded it to Gregory. Subject, Exhibit A. The next day, I learned from a mutual acquaintance, someone in her office, that Ava had discovered who was leading the transition project during a strategy meeting. They said she went pale when my name was mentioned. Started asking frantic questions. When was he hired? How long has he been working here? Who let this happen? According to my source, it took everything in her not to completely unravel in that room. Later that afternoon, security at my building called me. Said someone had tried to get in asking for me by name. Blonde. Angry. Shouting. I asked if they had footage. They said yes. Gregory added it to the file. Then came the flying monkeys. Her friends started messaging me. Texts from numbers I didn't recognize, all with the same tone. "She's devastated. She still loves you. Why are you doing this to her?" Her sister DM'd me on Instagram, calling me heartless. Her mom left me a voicemail about keeping family matters private. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I documented every message and sent them to Gregory. Then came the next strike. HR called me in. Said they'd heard a rumor that I was using my new position to retaliate against Ava. I came prepared. I showed them the documentation. Played them one of the milder recordings, Ava laughing about my panic attack, calling me embarrassing. I explained that I had disclosed the conflict of interest to Sydney from the start and I had fully recused myself from any direct decisions about Ava's role. The HR manager looked physically uncomfortable during the playback. She kept scribbling notes and nodding like her neck was on a hinge. She finally said, "We appreciate your transparency. There's no evidence of misconduct on your part. We'll handle the rest." Translation: Ava was not in a good place. That night, I finally opened one of Ava's emails. This one was different. She said she hadn't slept in days. That she missed me. That losing me had made her realize how much she took me for granted. She said she didn't mean what she said. That she was just stressed. That she wasn't herself. Then came the threat. She said she'd spoken to a lawyer. That she had been advised she could sue me for financial sabotage and intentional emotional harm. That if I didn't stop this revenge campaign, she would ruin me in court. Gregory's reply was one sentence long. Let her try. We had recordings. We had text chains. We had her on video mocking me, gaslighting me, humiliating me. We had receipts. If she wanted to take it public, we'd take it all the way. After that silence, for 2 days I heard nothing. Then, while grabbing a coffee near work, I saw her. Ava. Sitting alone at a cafe table. Hair unwashed. Eyes sunken. Like she hadn't slept in a week. For a second I hesitated. I almost felt bad. Then I remembered the way she looked at me on the floor during my panic attack. Like I was filth. She saw me. Stood up. Called my name. I wanted to walk away. Run, even. But I stayed. 5 years deserved at least a final conversation. She begged for 5 minutes. I gave her 3. She cried. Not fake tears. Messy ones. Loud ones. Mascara running. People staring. I walked her outside to a bench. Handed her a napkin. Let her breathe. Then she said the words that shattered the illusion. "We can work this out before it affects my job." That was it. Her real concern. Not me. Not us. Just her career. I stood up, looked her in the eyes, and said, "The divorce is finalizing. I won't ruin your reputation unless you make me." She asked if there was any chance left. I shook my head. Her last words to me. "I'm sorry I called you worthless. You're showing me how much you're worth now." Even her apology was a backhanded compliment. Classic Ava. It's been exactly 1 month since I walked out of that apartment and left Ava's carefully curated life behind. The divorce is almost finalized. She accepted the settlement without much of a fight, probably realizing she didn't have the leverage she thought she did. We split everything down the middle. Joint savings. Furniture. No spousal support. No drama. Just numbers and signatures. Gregory called it a clean break with a dirty history. I haven't seen or heard from her in over 2 weeks now. Not directly, at least. She still tries to reach out through mutual contacts, but I've made it clear I don't want updates, apologies, or closure. I got everything I needed the day I saw her in that coffee shop trying to weaponize her tears to salvage her job. That was the moment I stopped feeling sorry for her. The last sliver of guilt vanished like smoke. My work life? It's thriving. The transition project is almost complete. Sydney's already hinted at another promotion once this phase wraps up. My team respects me. No one raises their voice in meetings. No passive-aggressive jabs. Just mutual respect. Imagine that. I moved the last of my boxes out of Liam's garage last weekend. We cracked open a couple of beers, ordered cheap pizza, and watched old stand-up specials until 2 a.m. Sky joined us too, first time the three of us had hung out in person since college. We laughed like we used to, like I hadn't been buried under years of walking on eggshells. Somewhere around midnight, Sky looked at me and said, "You're different now." Like, lighter. They were right. That's the word I'd been trying to find, light. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was dragging an invisible weight behind me. No more calculating every word, anticipating Ava's moods, pretending to be someone I wasn't. I was just me. Last night, I sat on the tiny balcony of my new place. The air was cool. The sky was clear. I had a cup of coffee made exactly the way I like it, not the way Ava used to say was too strong. I wrapped myself in a hoodie and listened to the quiet hum of the city around me. And I breathed. Deep. Steady. Full. No panic. No tightness in my chest. Just calm. You know what the wildest part is? I haven't had a single panic attack since the day I left her. Not one. Not even close. Turns out when you remove the source of the poison, your body finally starts to heal. The other day, I went back and reread some of the entries in my old Google Doc, the one where I kept track of Ava's comments, her gaslighting, her cruelty. It was like reading someone else's story. I couldn't believe I tolerated so much for so long. I used to think love was about sacrifice. About compromise. About sticking it out even when it got hard. But that wasn't love. That was survival. Real love doesn't make you question your worth every day. It doesn't mock your mental health or throw away your medication to prove a point. It doesn't treat you like a stepping stone to something better. I'm not saying I'm blameless. I ignored the signs. I made excuses for her. I told myself she was stressed, tired, just venting. But now I see it clearly. I wasn't broken. I was being broken. And I finally said enough. Ava's career? I don't know where it stands. After HR got involved, I was kept out of all discussions about her role. Deliberately. Legally. Smart move on the company's part. Last I heard, her department was being restructured again. Whether she's still there or not my problem. People keep asking me what's next. I don't have a 5-year plan. Not yet. But I do know this. I'm going to travel a little. Visit my sister in Oregon. Spend a weekend hiking with Sky. Finally take Liam up on that Vegas trip we never did in our 20s. Live a life that's mine. No more pretending. No more good husband performance. No more wasting years proving myself to someone who never valued me. Revenge? I don't think that's the right word. This wasn't about destroying Ava. It was about saving me. The irony is, if she hadn't laughed about my panic attack, if she hadn't tossed my medication in the trash like it was nothing, maybe I'd still be trapped in that apartment, convincing myself it wasn't that bad. But she showed me who she really was. And I believed her. That's the thing about clarity, it doesn't whisper. It roars. So here I am. 32. Divorced. Living in a tiny, creaky apartment with mismatched chairs and a stubborn thermostat. And I've never felt more alive. Some nights I still hear her voice in my head telling me I'm not enough, that I'm weak, that no one else would want me. But then I look around at the life I've rebuilt brick by quiet brick. I look at the friends who stood by me. I look at the man in the mirror finally standing tall. And I smile. Because I know now. I was never the burden. I was the one carrying everything.